Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Leven Podcasts. I'm your host Leven. Today is a special day. We are joined by the amazing ClayStehling. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's 3 o'clock here in the UK, but didn't wake up too long ago. Luxuries of being on half-term holiday. I know it's really early for you, right? Where you are?
Yeah, it's 10 a.m. here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whereabouts in America are you from, actually? East or West Coast?
Texas, Texas.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right, cool. Um, So obviously Clay, a lot of you will know Clay. Clay is a streamer, and he's been for the part. You've been streaming since mid September last year, right?
Yeah,
Or
well, October 23rd of 2017. I just did 2 year celebration. So
oh wow, that's amazing. And you've amassed quite a lot of growth in the recent months. Obviously, you began casting events, and you started off casting just in on stream, casting some of the in-game tournaments. Tell me about how what inspired you to do that. How did you get into casting?
so that's a long story. We'll get into it, I guess, if you really want me to.
Yeah,
It starts
talk to
actually
it.
back in Black Ops 2 days when Fwiz was casting. I really liked his style and the way he did it. So I was like, you know what, I could do that. And so I started like casting my friends' games, and they got annoyed by it, of course. So they would be like, "Please shut up." But like I really liked it. So I like went out and I was like, I was always in Frizz's chat. At one point I was a mod for him on some like random account. But I asked him, I was like, "So what do you use to stream?" He's like, "Oh, I just have an Elgato." I was like, "Okay." So I just went out and bought an Elgato.
Yeah.
I realized that you needed a PC to hook it up to stream, but I was like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then so like I never ended up doing it that way, but I always like knew that I don't know. I always like had this thought in my head like I
Yeah.
could stream. So after about like a year streaming, I decided like randomly I would just start like casting people as I died. People were like, "Oh my god, Clay, like we like it." Like, and I was like, I don't know about that. And so like I would just do it one off every like maybe every 1 out of 20 matches I would cast when I died.
Yeah.
Like I never really put the effort in. But then World Cup qualifiers came around, and like I saw what all it did, right? Like how he went from player to analyst caster,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like picked up by having as well. So it was like, okay, I could do that. So I started doing it. I started putting out videos. I did first in videos on YouTube because that was my primary following. And I just actually switched over to Twitch from YouTube streaming.
Oh, so you used to
So
stream on YouTube before?
yeah, I streamed on YouTube for. I started streaming on Twitch in January of this year, and I switched about June or July, I think. So I switched right before World Cup I was started streaming right before World Cup qualifiers,
Yeah.
and I was like on Twitch, and so I was like, okay. And then I just was like, I might as well put this on Twitter and tag the pros. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, if they see it, they like it, and then they retweet it. Like, hey, that's growth for me. They like it because I noticed like on the broadcast, like not everybody was getting casted, but that's because there's so many different people winning games. It's like you can't keep up with everybody on the official broadcast. It's just impossible,
Yeah. It's
right?
really
Because back then
difficult.
it was like multiple different games going on at the same time.
Yeah.
It's not what we see with squads now, where it's one lobby of players. It was like I don't know 5 or 6 different lobbies. So I had different perspectives that the broadcast didn't have, and so people valued that. They were like, "Oh, this guy's pretty good," and so that's how that all came. And I was just like, I'll post it on Twitter, and then Twitter led to the growth on Twitch, and then back to Twitter and back to Twitch, and so now we're here.
Yeah. And I actually really love that model because like it is quite effective, right? You where you have a lot of pro players who want attention and exposure themselves, and it's like they weren't getting people. A lot of people were complaining as well about like don't get enough camera time on stream, etc., etc. So your model was really successful, and I that's how I started to see a lot of your stuff, right? Because I'm seeing certain pro players like it and retweet it, and I was like, oh, who's this? And then went from there. To go back to one of the things you said earlier, so you used to pay attention to the Call of Duty scene a lot. Is that where you'd say you'd come from in terms of the scene?
Yeah, that was definitely like my first esport. Like, so I was old enough to be around when it was Nate Shot and Scump, and they had just moved into the Optic House together
Oh
with
wow,
Big Timer for the first time.
that
So
was
that's
a
how
while ago.
long ago that was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Alright, that's interesting. So coming in coming from COD, an established scene, and as much as people might not like COD or whatever, I think COD is quite a nice, a well structured esport in terms of like just having a lot of set teams, good events, good ways to break into the scene. How would you say you felt, or what did you think of Fortnite as an esport coming into it, coming from COD?
Well, yeah, so that's a good question. I actually went COD to League of Legends.
Oh,
So
okay.
I went from one established to a very established one. And then PUBG was actually my first PC game that wasn't League of Legends. And that's when I started streaming on it. And then I switched to Fortnite when it came out. And then I didn't really get into esports in Fortnite. I would say, gosh, season 4 or 5,
Yeah,
back when containers, like the first pro I watched scrim was Poach, but he would always drop containers
yeah,
every single time.
yeah.
Like
They
that was
love
his
to,
drop.
yeah, yeah,
And like I knew the drop by just by watching him so much, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, well now I know where everything is here.
yeah,
So it's interesting seeing the progression of Fortnite, and I've always said, right, and people have asked me, they're like, how what do you see Fortnite in, like, in a couple years from now? I've told them, I was like, I think Fortnite has the potential to be the biggest esport ever
yeah,
if they played it right, they do it right, because there's such a big following for it just casually. If you can get and I think you'll see it more with squads, is it's easier to follow the storylines,
yeah.
right?
That's something I
Especially
wanted to
with
get into.
with what everyone's calling snaking season, right? It's
Yeah,
so easy to follow, like, okay, well, this group dropped this group,
yeah,
and now this person's back with this person. Okay, but it's so much easier as like someone who watches, to just tell 25 stories instead of, or 24 stories. I think it's 45 technically. I
yeah,
think they try to get everybody in. Um, but it's so much easier than to tell 100 or 50. With duos and solos, it's so hard to tell everybody's story in the match, and people just get lost. So
yeah,
it's I think Fortnite, and everyone has to remember, like, especially like with the prize pool announced actually for squads and for what it was. I think the cash cups, everyone, the qualifiers, as well. People were like, I would say, complaining. It's like there's no money in like CS:GO like opens, right? I don't think there's like no real way to make money as a semi-professional from what I've seen.
yeah. I don't think a lot of people realize that even like it's so crazy to me the fact that they're even giving away money for FNCS qualifiers. Like the next, I think it's 4 weeks. It's not 5 anymore. Like the next 4 weeks of just qualifiers for the finals, they're handing out thousands and thousands of dollars, and in no other institution, sport, esport, is that much money handed out in qualifiers. Like you're not even, you're getting money. Some people are gonna get money in qualifiers who won't even make it to the finals. Like I think it's interesting, at least the way, like, but it's what you get, right, when they started off so big, with 100 million announced in a year, the massive World Cup event that they had. Like, it's understandable why people are reacting to this change, but I'm not personally like the change, but that's actually something I want to get into a bit later, because that's like more recent things that's happened. Like we literally just got that announced like last night. Um, Backtracking a bit to early World Cup, when you first started casting Fortnite events and whatnot. So obviously back then as well, with the format they had with the World Cup, it was only end games that were casted, right? So that cuts out a large part of the. I think it cuts out the most difficult part of a lot of casting in battle royale games, which is the early and mid game, where maybe there's not as much action as there is end game, so you have to fill up all that time. Was that something that you were aware of and that you looked to practice early on, or were you guys kind of focused on just casting the end games because that's all that was really being shown?
Yeah, so I followed the format that the broadcast did, and I did most of the end games, but it was, I can't remember the when War Legend actually like reached out and was like, "Yo, we want to work with you. We're doing stuff every Monday." Um, uh, And so like, it was like after World Cup. It was before like trios, but I was like, okay, I need to put in time, and I put in a lot of time in off stream to work on like my in between casting
Yeah.
because it's like that is very hard. And I do a lot of the events by myself,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just easier, and if you don't have a production team like what we've seen come up with the Prac servers and the Fishy Cup, right?
Yeah.
Like it's hard doing everything by yourself. So it's um I put a lot of time in to get to where I can like talk about everything and try to get all the action that is happening. If I don't, I've come up with ways to like keep it. I think try to keep it entertaining, but it's definitely so hard, and that's why we saw I think the shift onto trios is the broadcast pass most of like the games for trios, like the full games.
Yeah.
So yeah, trios it was a lot easier because again, there's only 33 stories in the entire match,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't have to focus on 50, 100. So yeah, I'd say mid game I put in a lot of time and effort into like working on it. And now every Monday with the War Legend ups and the invitationals that they do, like that helps my mid game talk a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier with like I think the biggest criticism I always get is I talk too much,
Mm.
right? But it's like I'm one person casting 6 matches by myself. I have to talk the entire time.
Yeah, and isn't that where I think I was gonna even ask you, like, it's incredibly difficult, even in games which are much slower paced, like maybe like a CS:GO, right, to even have just one caster. So in a game where there's such a difference in tempo at certain parts of the game, and there's so much to feel, like how have you gone so long without having a co-caster? And I understand there's obviously the difficulties with production and stuff, but do you feel like that's the next step for you in terms of finding like someone to co-cast with?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think the next step is just I've been doing more full games like the entire time and like putting on I would say a show on like, when I do off broadcast things. It's just I've casted with Paula, with Shio, with Pacifist, and they always all go well. Like the cast with Bala, it was a little bit scuffed because he was in France and I had to do production. It was the first time I did production for 2 people,
Yeah.
right? So it was like it was a little hard, especially with my computer crashing the first game. It was well, it was really worrying because like I had never done that, so it's like it's hard. It's also growing me as someone who eventually, if I get tired of casting, I could do production. Like I have the ability to,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's weird not having like a set coke. I don't know because like I don't know. I don't want to say like everyone had like has like in the COD scene and they swapped out casters all the time together, but
Yeah.
like usually it was Puckett and Fwiz that would cast together,
Yeah.
right? And so they were always like together. Or Fwiz would trade out with other people. And so it's like it's weird not having like a set caster, but I don't know. I feel like I could cast with anybody.
How much would you say you review your own casting? Because I know like a lot of CS:GO casters that I know and that I sometimes conversate with, like they tell me how they watch back their own events that they've casted and whatnot, and and it's like they go back and look at different things that can improve and ways to improve their casting. And obviously, when you have a co-caster, it's even better because then you can discuss things with your co-caster. But how much would you say you do that for yourself?
Not as much as I should. I mainly make a mental note in the moment because like the hardest thing I think be like because I strive more for play by play casting. I'm not an analyst. Like Shio and Bala have way bigger brains than I ever will in terms of like breaking down the game by
Yeah, like color
what's it called?
casting.
Analytics. Yeah, yeah, color casting, right? They are so good at it. I am not at all that person.
Yeah.
I am good at talking very quickly and making things sound exciting. I think
Mm.
that's what I excel at.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I don't know.
I think I think for me, like when like watching when like reviewing other people cast and like seeing like giving advice on what to improve and stuff. Like with like play by play casting, a lot of it isn't like if you're a play by play caster, you either have it or you're not or you don't, right? Like you can't, like not everyone has the ability to cast play by play, right? It's very difficult skill being able to talk on the fly and just be able to make things sound exciting. I think a lot of it probably, I think the only thing that people would probably say is like understanding like tempo, right? Like if you're like, you can't necessarily make things sound exciting like at the start, like as like knowing when to make things sound exciting is important, right? Like there's not much to there's not much to improve in as a color caster, as a play by play caster compared to a
I
color
agree.
caster, I feel.
It's all about tempo, right? It's
Yeah,
the rising and falling action of your voice.
yeah,
Like knowing when to increase your voice to get up here and then to go right back down here to bring it back down. So it's very, that's the hardest thing to learn, especially with Fortnite, because it's always up here. Usually in the last little bit of it, it's always up here in the higher portions of your voice.
yeah,
So it's development. Like for example, someone like a couple people have asked me like, how do you do it just for that long? Like when I did FNCS trios, I think every single region I tried to do for the finals.
yeah,
It like that's what 9 hours of casting
yeah.
straight. Like,
That's crazy.
but the reason I was able to do it is because World Cup, it was like 10 hours of casting every single day, and it's just like building up that vocal strength is so key. And I, at first, I was casting a lot for my throat,
Yeah,
and it caused a lot of issues with my throat. And you can't really mess up your voice as a you just can't mess up your
yeah,
voice as a
yeah.
caster because or someone that even streams like if you mess up your voice like well
That's it.
it's it. So
Yeah,
I learned quickly like diaphragm, like using your gut, your diaphragm to move different muscles in your voice. And
yeah.
I took like a vocal lesson with somebody a
Oh
couple of
well,
times, so like I could get better breathing because I
yeah. Breath
everyone always
control is
talks about it
important.
like on my stream. I have really bad allergies, and so if there's like any hint of pollen in the air, I get stuffed up. Like right now, I'm stuffed up. I can't breathe through my nose. So it's like I have to breathe through my mouth and cast at the same time. That's also
Oh
a
yeah,
challenge.
that's
But
incredibly difficult.
back to like the original point, I look at a lot more of my intense moment casting to see where I slip up because I slip up a lot. Like I think I'm still new to it. I think a lot of people slip up in the heat of the moment,
Yeah,
especially with squads, because it's hard to say the entire squad name. And I think Bala and Shire were talking about this the other day. Like we need to have set names for different teams, like you know how there was MMB,
yeah,
right? It's much easier to say, "Oh, MMB is doing this," because
yeah.
people are going to know who that is,
Hundred
rather
percent.
than Mongrel, Benji. You know, like
Yeah,
it's very easy to say MMB. So I think just I more look at like that. I know my intermission. What's it called? Action talk, like where that's normally where the color casting would take over, and
yeah.
I would like go back and forth with them. It can be improved, but that's usually not my focus when I look back at my VODs. I don't actually like the sound of my voice. I don't think anybody does. But my casting voice, it's very hard for me to listen back. I do, and I watch a lot more scrims than I probably should, especially with Europe, just because I think it helps. Like, and I talk in my head. I'm like, okay, like I'll watch. I'll go back and I'll watch like someone's scrim who's doing like War Legend customs, and then I'll cast it in my head. I won't actually do it out loud. Then I'll be like, okay, you messed up here, you messed up here, you messed up here, and then I'll just keep working on it till it gets where I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think it's like with casting, I feel like it's a caster can make a great game feel like an amazing game and an average game feel like a good game. Like there's only a casters can only do so much to change how a game can feel and sound. So like I think it's really, I feel like people are very critical of the casters in our scene. Um,
Oh, oh, for sure. I have heard everything in the book about me and other casters that are in the scene, and people are just so rude with it. And it's like I understand they're very critical. They want their game to be done very well, and they come from other esports, right? Where
yeah,
they have a set analyst desk and where they have a set casters list, right? But Fortnite was this is what we just finished the first year really of esports, we're still in the baby moments of it. Like Fortnite's still figuring out like what they want to do broadcast wise,
Yeah, yeah.
and not everybody is Golden Boy,
Of
right?
course.
I look
Yeah,
to Golden Boy as the standard of casting, just because he does every single esport, can talk about anything and make it sound interesting.
yeah.
But he's been in the scene since Call of Duty, like Black Ops One, Black Ops
Yeah,
Two,
he
like
has hella experience in casting.
yeah. So not everybody has that, and people don't realize like if it's their like first like from my like when I first did the War Legend Cup, the very first one, like I got flamed so hard. And I was like, okay, look, like I realized very early on in streaming as well that what's it called? You can't you have to take those with a grain of salt. Like if
Yeah,
they provide constructive criticism, like, hey, I think you did this and you could have done it a little bit differently this way. But if the way you do it makes it feel more comfortable to your voice, then that's fine. But like it's all about constructive criticism in the industry, and you just don't see that a lot with the Fortnite crowd. I think because it is a younger crowd.
yeah. I think a lot of people in our scene, just because it's younger, don't understand the concept of constructive criticism. I think a lot of people probably like, I don't know, maybe I don't know if you get this vibe, but it's like, yeah, sure, I may be the only person doing XYZ, but just because I'm the only person doesn't mean I think I'm the best. If you have constructive criticism, sorry, I'm not gonna shut you down and be like, how dare you try, tell me what to do. I'm the best out here. No, like if you have constructive criticism, I'll take it happily. Thank you, like I appreciate it. But don't just tell me I'm trash and then that's it. Like you say something of like meaning and of value. But yeah,
Oh, I
that's
agree.
the thing.
I as soon I think the hard part with it is there's so many people just in the world in general that have the idea that they are the best, and that mindset is so bad, especially with wanting to grow
Yeah.
in any sort of aspect of your life, whether it be personally, mentally, physically, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, like whether it be numbers that like provide you that like gratification, right? If you want to grow, you cannot have the mindset that you are the best
Yeah.
because you will get stale. Like, and my content has gotten stale a couple times because I have thought that I'd be like, okay, I'm doing the best that I can right now, and then my content suffers, and I notice it, so I change something up. And like with casting, I always try to change it up, and like I think one of the things that I remember, especially from World Cup qualifiers, you know, Hen TV, BL Hen,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So he was doing something, and like I was spectating somebody else, and his name you I think used to be Hunter's Hen, right? And I was like, oh well, he got sent back to the chicken coop, right? And that was like it was a quick, witty like response, right? Like, and that'll always stick in my head because like that was the first time I was like, I made a joke about somebody's name, or like I made a quick wit,
Yeah, yeah,
not a joke, but like a thing about somebody's name,
yeah.
and so like I try to implement more of that, right? Because like if I think if like the audience can have a little bit of break in the seriousness, like I used to call stink grenades fart bombs, right? Like you're essentially farting on the person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
the audience, as is a younger audience, they're gonna like that. But and people were like, okay, and they give me constructive criticism. Like I never used to say elimination; I would always say kill, right?
Oh yeah,
But I need to not say that just because kill has like a negative tone. Like you're just
yeah. It has negative
I,
connotations. Epics try to stay away from it, etc., etc.
yeah, well, yeah, and I feel like esports that are catering to a younger audience would stay away from
Of course.
saying, "Oh, you just killed that person,"
Yeah.
right? Because then the kids are gonna be like, "Wait, mommy, he
Yeah,
killed him,"
yeah, yeah.
right?
That was my biggest thing. Even when I was like still like when I was like 14, my mum would be in like would walk past my room and I'd be playing CS:GO and she'd hear me be like, "I just killed him. I just killed him." And she'd be like, "No, you don't say you killed him. Like say something else. Just don't say you killed." Him. I was like, "Mum, what can I say? I killed the guy." He's like, "No, don't say that." And it's like, yeah, I think definitely it's hard to say. Like I think that's what makes casting for Fortnite so much harder. Like you have to keep in mind like you're casting to a younger audience a lot of the time, and you have to like filter yourself to an extent, like of what you
Yeah,
say and do.
yeah, but it all came through constructive criticism. Like people
Yeah,
would give me criticism, but in a constructive format. That way, they were like, "Hey, I still like what you're doing. I just think you can improve it in this way."
yeah.
And that is so big and so helpful
Do you,
because
Oh, no, continue, no, continue, continue.
Well, I was gonna say because like so the casting scene and anything related to esports is so hard to break into because there's not a handbook. It's like streaming. No, there's no like course you can go take on how to be a caster, how to be a streamer, right?
Yeah,
Like there's nothing out there literature wise that says this is what you need to do and you'll be successful. Because it's like I'd say it's 80% luck at sometimes.
yeah.
Right?
Um,
It's like when did you start doing it? If you did it at the right time, if you have something unique, and that's what I wanted to strive with casting is I wanted to try to bring something unique to it,
yeah.
and people have helped move that along with their critiques.
Would you say you have like some? Would you say you have like a mentor, or someone you go to for advice with these things, or have you kind of just learned on your own on the fly?
No, I've chatted with Shia about some things, but I usually actually what I do is I usually go back and watch like old casting of Call of Duty. Like I'll go back and watch Wizz's old cast
Yeah,
or Golden Boy or Puckets and see what they did. And like they did a lot of like it was called podcasting back in the day, but they like I don't know the way they did it. I look back and look at that. Um, I talk with friends a lot about streaming and casting, but it's just it's all about how I can improve from cast to cast. Like
yeah,
sometimes I'll do a cast, like I don't remember what it was, but recently I did a cast and I didn't feel good about it. Like I didn't like it. But other people in the chat were so kind and so nice and like, no, we loved it. Like it was really good. Like you kept us entertained. Like I knew myself that I didn't like it.
yeah,
So I knew what to improve on. But it was good that people saw that they liked the stuff that they liked in it. But they also were like, hey, I think right here, like you messed up. But it's so hard. It's such like I think this is one of the hardest things that I've done is try to break. I think I don't want to say break in, but like move into the esports side of things for Fortnite rather
yeah.
than
Just
content
content
creation
creation.
because I feel like I can create content until I'm 95 years old. Right?
Yeah,
There's some sort of thing that I could be doing to create content, but breaking into the esports world is very hard.
yeah. Um, Actually, I like a lot of what you said there. I think it's important to understand, even yeah, because a lot of the like I doubt there's many people who are aspiring casters listen to this, but even as a player, like you can apply some of those same things, right? Like just being able to just focus on how to improve and how you're improving, and going back and watching things and picking things up from them is 100% the way to go forward. And just putting yourself out there, man. I feel like a lot of people aren't able to put themselves out there, like which is something I think you did a great job of, right? Like always looking to take opportunities where you can and to try different things out is definitely a way to grow yourself and to move forward within esports as a scene. Um,
Yeah, well, and I started out playing competitively. I will let's say semi, right? I never got good. Like the most money I've won for Fortnite is $150, and it was 1 week during the World Cup qualifiers. I was like, let me see if I still got it, right? But like, I knew because I live in Texas and I have 60 ping no matter where I play, West, East. I don't have I didn't back because we didn't have coin flips back then, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
knew that I was at an innate disadvantage, and I'm an older guy. I'm 23. Well, I'll be 23 in December.
I
So
think it's
it
crazy that that's in our scene that's considered older, like
right, yeah,
23 year
because
old
like
older
in
guy.
CS:GO and League of Legends, that's like
That's like
I would say like
that's
the
average
middle of
age.
the road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
middle.
exactly.
Yeah,
But for Fortnite, I knew I was like I just can't keep up with these people. But like I had the mindset to always improve and like I knew like what to do, like improve this way. Always go back to look at this. Like me and my duo would always like try to talk about stuff. But it's also like you have to be able to take criticism in casting in anything. Like if it's constructive, you have to be able to take it. You can't be defensive,
yeah,
right? Because as soon as you're defensive, you shut down that whole conversation and you shut down all forms of growth.
yeah,
Especially like with streaming, like I'm very defensive of my content, like the way I'm doing stuff. So like if someone comes in the chat and they're like, I hate your stream because of this reason, I'm gonna be like, okay, well look, I'm sorry your mom didn't hug you today, but I like the way I'm doing it. But if someone comes in Clay, I think you can improve your stream this way, blah 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 blah. It gives like a reasons or like they DM me, they're like, hey, I noticed like you were getting mad today. Like here's ways I deal with. Like someone actually was like, hey, I know she raged a lot of Fortnite today. Like, here's how I deal with my rage of Fortnite. I
Yeah,
was like, okay, well, thank you. Like, that was like very kind, and I appreciate the criticism.
and
You always have to
that's
be
good.
open
Yeah,
to that because as soon as you're not in any form of life, like as soon as you're you again, like it goes back to the oh, I think I'm the best. But like if you are open to criticism, like Golden Boy didn't get to be where he was by thinking he was the best caster every single time.
yeah,
I'm sure he reached out to talk to people like Fwiz or Puckett, like or even Courage. I think he was casting around like casting COD when Courage was around. He may have switched over to Overwatch at that point. That's where I stopped watching a lot of esports was Overwatch. I just couldn't follow it. But
yeah.
that's a tangent. But it's like he didn't get to be where he was by thinking, "Oh, I'm the best."
Yeah, I understand that. Would you say so? So with obviously you casting so many events, right? And just watching so much Fortnite, you just like by nature you are watching more and consuming more Fortnite than the majority of people in our scene. What are some of the things that you've picked up about the game? Because obviously you said yourself you're not no analyst or Bala TW, you're not no Destiny's Jesus by any means, but obviously you picked up a lot. What are some of the things that you want to see changed to the game from a casting perspective that kind of make the game difficult for you?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, I definitely would say I watch way more Fortnite than the average viewer does, just because with and I don't know why. I just like EU is my main scene and I know the most about it.
Yeah,
I think just like from my perspective, I know the most for me about EU. Like I don't know I know a lot about NA East and NA West. I know nothing about any of the other regions. I do follow China from time to time and Asia from time to time rather. And the China scene is very, very unique and they have their weird qualifiers. You know, it's hard to keep up with.
yeah,
But it's like I find myself watching so much and I pick up on like just like little things like quality of life things. I think like when I put out that bug about the infinite heal glitch,
yeah,
right? Like my thought with that was, okay, I'm gonna put this out. I have an audience that will be impacted by this because in the clip I literally say, imagine someone doing this in FNCS qualifiers and making finals off of it and getting money
yeah,
by using a glitch.
yeah,
Right, like obviously, Epic would be like, okay, obviously that we're gonna revoke, exploiting is not allowed, but it's like little things. Like I think I mean, so I'm colorblind, but I don't know how many pros are actually colorblind, but I think the colorblind system needs a little bit of a rework. It's still very hard for me to see certain things
mm,
in the game. It's also very bright. Like I
yeah,
know you can go in and turn your gamma down, but like my eyes literally hurt after playing Fortnite for like 4 hours. But I don't know. There's so many things that I would want to change just personally because I think one thing majorly is the phasing through builds, and I don't know how you combat that with ping because ping is such a big player in this game. Right? I hate that
mm,
it is,
yeah,
but like you just have to like you end up having to play a different way. But I don't want to have to play a different way just because I live in Texas, right?
yeah,
So I don't know. I would change the way like match that the ping matchmaking works. I know it's reliant on where the Amazon servers are, and I don't think they have one in the central of America, like Texas, anywhere
yeah,
above.
yeah.
So it is reliant on that. But I don't know if I could change. I don't know. I don't know.
It's fine.
That's a good question. I could change if I could change one thing about Fortnite right now. Ooh, 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 ooh. A hard question.
I think okay. I'll answer it and we'll go from there. I think the one thing that I think I'd like to change from a viewing perspective, and one thing I think that makes the game quite difficult from a viewing perspective, would be the way the way phasing works, and like I've seen clips where like the way phasing works and the way ping is like a big deal. It means that like there's sometimes things that happen that where there are no counterplay. Like I've seen clips of amazing players, right? Like great players who they just get completely. I said I couldn't yeah, I said I wouldn't swear on the podcast anymore, but they just get completely wrecked, right? And like, there's no way to react. There's nothing that they can do about it, and it's like it's just too ping reliant. And obviously, I don't know how to necessarily deal with that. Like, I had this conversation with Kraz from War Legend, and like the thing about Fortnite is that like the game wasn't designed to necessarily be this like what it's become, right? Like
Yeah,
the game is, even the way that they've approached like doing online tournaments and stuff, like that's what the game was kind of made for. It's, I don't think it's like, a lot of people say I wish we had lands and this and that, and it's like I do as well. Like, I really wish we had all those things as well, because in other games, like I see like so many top tier CS pros when they're playing, they have like 70 ping, right? And obviously ping's not as big of a factor in other games as it is in Fortnite, but it's like it doesn't necessarily matter online performance because there's so much LAN events, etc., that we just don't have in Fortnite. So I'd love to see kind of the way just that whole system is reworked. I don't think it will be, just because I think it's very difficult to do something like that with like what you said with how the Amazon servers, like it's, I feel like a lot of it would require a lot of investment that isn't necessarily necessary to for, in their eyes, in Epic's eyes at least. But in terms of maybe
yeah.
just like a gameplay thing, sorry for cutting you off that. In terms of maybe just outside of like a core mechanical game thing, I'd say nades, like just straight up, like nades just need to be gone or adjusted in some way. Or,
Yeah, yeah. So two things. I think going back to viewing perspective, actually, my friend Sancho West, who does a lot of casting for Boom TV and Code Red and those charities, he actually brought up a point with squads, right? Because we don't have team set squad, like we don't have a Sentinels team, we don't have a Liquid team, right? We don't have set teams like League of Legends, CS:GO, Call of Duty.
yeah,
What his proposal was to have everybody in the lobby, whether so Mitra's team, Ohio team, they each have their own individual respective skins. Now, I brought up a counterpoint that then you'd be easily stream sniped. So my counter was you have these set skins from viewing. So let's say Mitra's team is all Dynamo, Tohai's team is all the Black Lynx,
yeah.
right? But only we can see that from spectator. What they people see in game are randomized skins.
Oh
That
yeah,
way, as a viewer, right, you can follow, okay, this entire squad is the Black Lynx, right? There's more than 100 skins in the game. So it's very easy to do. Like, one team is all Ghoul Troopers, right? It's randomized from time to time. Like, there's no, and it's all pre-selected from a not bulky set. Like, we don't have crack shot in there, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
but I think from a viewing perspective, if you have that to where it's all set, people could be able to follow it themselves and be like, okay, I see this Black Lynx just went down. So someone from Tohai's team just got eliminated,
Yeah.
right? Like, they could follow it themselves. Back to gameplay, nades. Nades. So you like Solary and Chris created a phenomenon,
Oh yeah.
and it's I'm surprised that they haven't been patched. I've seen a lot of squads come up with ways to counteract them to where only one person will be eliminated.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to that there's not a lot of counterplay, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like they're like stink grenades. There's no counterplay to a stink grenade other than moving,
Yeah.
which is I think why they were removed, because they were just so annoying to deal with for everybody. For grenades, the only way to counter the 65-meter strat is to be built up in 3 layers of metal, spread out just wide enough from your squad that you can still get together if you need to, but you're not touching one by ones. And so it's like there's no counterplay. I don't think it's competitive. I don't even think it's fun for casuals. I don't think they like grenades. I don't like grenades in a normal game mode. Like, if someone throws grenades at me, I think they're throwing like a million at me.
Yeah.
And so I think there needs to be some sort of cap limit, maybe impact the ground before it can explode, right? You throw them, they have an impact timer, 3 seconds, and they bounce wherever, then they blow up. I don't know. There needs to be a rework. I just don't think it's healthy for the game.
Yeah, 100%. Like, my biggest thing with like comparing, I remember I put out a tweet saying what sports, what like real life sports would you compare Fortnite to? And somebody said like mixed martial arts, and I was like, that's really interesting, right? Because when it comes to things like box fighting and just certain like things that take place within the meta, it's like a lot of it is just like people executing their moves and like other people doing counters, right? So in that sense, like I think yeah, it's actually quite similar to like a form of martial art, right? Like when you're box fighting, it's like you're trying to execute a move while someone's trying to counter you and stop you from doing that move. And with nades, it's like you can't like how do you counter that, right? Like you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that you're countering their move. Maybe you have to adjust your setup as a whole, but it's not like a counter, which it's not what makes I think a lot of this game really entertaining to watch. Seeing people counter and do certain things, it's quite difficult, I think, to
Yeah,
to
well,
watch.
you bring up the box fight, and I think a good counter, and I think Benji really came up with it, right? But it's like if you're low HP, and I think it was his flintlock play that got like big. Is like when you're in that box and you edit that stair, you can phase through it for that little bit, right? If you move,
Oh yeah,
and he really kind of pioneered that shot, like because people don't expect you to be phasing through. You hit him with a shot, you elim him, and I think the first person I saw really do it was Benji, right? And like that's a counter to being low in a box fight. Like if you're low in a box fight as well, you have traps, you have different edits you can do. Right? There's like so many different things that you can counter. Like, and I know people hate the snipers, right? I know people hate them. I'm glad we only have back to normal snipers where they don't do a lot as much damage. They're not the heavy, but it's all about like I always think there was counters to sniping.
yep,
Don't rotate that in the open that much. Don't predict your like don't have a predictable jump pattern, right?
yeah, yeah,
If you run 1 second, jump the next second, run 1 second, jump the next second, right? That's very easy. These Fortnite pros are gonna be able to pick off on that, right? If they see the same skin doing the same jump every single time, they're gonna be able to hit you.
yeah.
I think there was even counters to that, like in boxes. Just don't be peeking late game with us like too much with a sniper, right? Because then you're probably gonna get sniped. But people, I don't know. But it's like there were counters with grenades. I don't see a counter.
Yeah, I will quickly just correct you there because as much as I love Benji and he's my guy, I gotta give credit to the real creator of that strategy and that move. That's the little XA classic.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, the first time I saw do it was Benji,
yeah,
but
fair enough. Yeah, no, I understand. I
XA,
understand.
yeah,
Yeah. Just because I didn't want to, because I know there's gonna be that one person that goes, "It's not Benji that created that move. It was actually X8." So
yeah. Oh,
just
yeah.
want
It
to
was,
know.
but still, like if XA came out with that, like that's a counter to certain things, like your wall. It's like
Yeah,
it's just counters.
yeah. Um, going a bit back to what's kind of going on now in our scene. Obviously, there's been a lot of there was the release of the rule set and the pricing etc. for FNCS. As someone who's obviously trying to break your way or trying to get not break you into the scene, I think you're very much in the scene. As someone who's obviously, I think that obviously the goal for you would be to cast in epic events and work with epic. Without getting yourself in any type of blacklist, what would you like to see kind of change with like the way communication's been? Because I think a lot of players has had complaints about that.
Yeah, I always try like in my stream and stuff to be completely transparent, and I think that I agree. There's just not a lot of communication, and I understand it from Epic's perspective because they are a I would say at this point a multi-billion-dollar company,
Yeah,
right? The competitive scene is not 90% of their income. I would say 10% of their total player base and income. They're not making as much as they are off the item shop, off of other things, right? So
yeah,
I understand, and that was the thing that people always complain about, like Epic not fixing this, Epic not fixing it. They are a business that is going to fix things and make changes in the game that's going to affect their casual players, right? The mechs, for example. Let's go back. Let's backtrack to the mechs. That was really good for little Timmy and Jimmy down the street that had played Fortnite but had never gotten a win and wanted to get a win, right? Because all their friends had wins and they wanted to get that umbrella. So Epic, I guarantee you, Epic has like data and analytics on when the last time Jimmy 54321 decided to play Fortnite, right? And like when his peak player time was. And then they can see like, okay, well, it dropped off after we introduced this very like, and that's like with Siphon, right? Like that was never Siphon was never supposed to be in the public mode. It was supposed to be a test,
Yeah.
and that is not like a casual thing. Like it's not. But going back, right? They're gonna make changes. They're gonna make improvements on what's gonna bring them in the most money. And I agree. I 100% agree with that because they're a business. Like League of Legends is the same thing. They make changes in their game that their majority of the player base is going to be happy with.
Yeah.
Right? You have to realize as a business you can't please everybody, and as like a streamer you can't please everybody either. So I think competitively they have slacked off a little bit in terms of communication, especially with this whole no patch notes thing. I think the reason they're not doing it is just because basically when in season one we didn't have patch notes, right? Like it was just we were learning the game as we went.
Mm.
I think a lot of players need. I understand like the feel like I don't know how to word this, but like from a like a competitive standpoint, like the feeling of we're kind of owed the changes of the game, or we're owed more
Yeah.
communication,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think we are, right? Epic doesn't have to do this. They don't have to put out millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
They put out their rule set what yesterday. I think it was the 31st is the day it came out,
Yeah.
and tomorrow is the first week of FNCS qualifiers. I think that's enough time to see. I think all the rules and everything, right? It's not like you're making a major core game mechanic change, right? Like what they've done is like we saw, for example, they tweeted out like, okay, hey, for the first week, you know, you don't have to be in champion. After that, you need to be in champion, right? That was good. That was huge, right? Because there's so many people I see not in champion, right? Like not in champion league. But Epic was like, you know what? Hey, we see this. We see the community struggling with it. We're gonna lower the requirement, give them another week to get into champion. Right? That's a very good piece of critical information we see from Epic.
See, with that, because that's actually a big point actually to make. I actually don't know how to feel about that because on one surface, like I see where you're coming from in that. Yeah, they're like they are. It shows that they actually are paying attention to the com. Like they see a lot of people are struggling, etc., etc. But at the same time, I didn't like it when hearing it because it's like the whole one of the biggest criticisms that people had last season with like Arena was the fact that they didn't have MMR the first like 2 or so weeks, right? So that everybody could get champs and everybody would be fine to play FNCS. Then they added MMR, which in a way like people didn't like that, which is understandable. Then this season they kind of started off with MMR, people struggling to get champs, and like as much as I agree, it would have been terrible to see some great teams not be able to play because one of their teammates just didn't make champs or whatever. Like that would have been horrible. But at the same time, it's like now you're just devaluing all the people that were good enough or grinded enough, sorry, to actually get champs. Like I would have, as much as like with Epic, this coincides with the money thing, right? With Epic, like now I feel like staying away from just dashing out fat amounts of money to smaller, not even smaller events, just dashing out fat amounts of money as a whole. With them kind of staying away from that, I think the way you keep value and like intrinsic interest is by valuing other things, right? Like make it so that something like champs is like something worth achieving or something that people want to achieve, and you value and reward those people. But now all those people, like, because I know people who like legit were grinding till like 5 a.m. right to try to get champs,
Oh
and they
yeah,
finally got
yeah,
it. And I imagine waking up and you're told, "Oh, that was all for nothing. You don't even have to be it by this weekend. You still got next week." Like it's like you take away the value, and it's like people now people in terms of like as a mentality, people don't care about champs. Isn't as big of a deal now. Like people don't care. Of course, now it's your way to play the tournaments, etc. But it's not. It's not. It's not something that's like, oh, you're great. You got into champs. You're great. Like if somebody right now, like before they announce that, if someone told me you're in champs, I'd be like, wow, you're a grinder. I might not say you're a great player because it doesn't necessarily mean you're a great player. But I'd be like, oh, I respect you. You must be a grinder, right? But now it's like, Epic kind of just like gave you like a little baby push. You can do that. So I think it
yeah.
works both ways.
I agree, and I have some points. I think it's both good and bad. I agree. I think and I can't remember who put out the tweet, but they basically said if you didn't get to champs, you don't deserve to play this weekend. I think that's a very interesting point to make, because it's just some people don't have like for example, let's just pull some random name, right? Like let's say Benji, right? Okay,
Yeah,
let's say Benji was still in school, right? Still like going physically to school. I think I would say I would assume he does online school, right?
yeah,
Is still physically going to school every day from 7 to 4 p.m. Right, and then he's running scrims with his squad from 4 p.m. till 9 p.m. Right, he has to get up by 7 of the next morning. So what, 9 to 7? That's almost 12 hours. What, 10 hours? So you can is like I would say what, 6 hours of sleep. So then he only has 4 hours to grind every night for champion point arena points. Right, like it comes back to the point like if Epic is catering more towards its younger audience, they did exactly what they wanted to do. They right there, like that's 100% on like their philosophy of they want everyone to have a chance to become like known competitively, right? Like I would say that's a very good like assumption of their like the way like the open qualifiers and stuff work. Like they want somebody unknown to be able to become somebody known, right? Like if that makes sense, if I'm wording that correctly, like they
no,
want.
yeah,
I can't remember. Like is someone basically going from not a lot of people knowing him to all of a sudden they qualify for FNCS titles with their squad and they do well. People are going to know who they are
yeah.
because maybe they didn't get champions this week. So the Epic realized like, hey, we're going to lower it down to contender division. It'll be fine for a week. Now, on the flip side, I do agree that there are people that put in a lot of time and effort into grinding to get to there. But eh, I don't know.
I think
It's
I think it's
it's
a
weird.
slippery slope because, like,
I agree.
because I don't want to end up getting into the conversation of like, we have to appeal to a kids game and whatever, like, because that is a really deep conversation of like,
Oh yeah.
hey, if you want to be a pro, you gotta make the sacrifice, like, because that's a very slippery slope. I feel like a lot of people get upset about those kind of conversations. Um, but I will say, I am excited for FNCS. Really, really excited, and I'm interested to like see how the dynamic works. I'm interested in terms of casters. I want to see how you guys deal with like just calling out people. Like I would hate to have to flip and say Mitra CEO, Kinzel, and Falcon Lee just rotate up and
Yeah.
down like that. It's hell. Good luck to you in that. Is there anything like, and even people like me, right? Like my role and one thing I've been trying to do a lot is like create narratives within our scene, like, and squads makes that easier. Like once we like once I like to just say media people, like all of us casters, analysts. I just say all us media people. Once we start to like develop um, narratives and things and like kind of like make that as an important part of our scene, I feel like it will alleviate a lot of the pressure off of Epic to like provide with like prize pools, and I feel like it just makes the scene richer and better in general. So hopefully we can see a lot of that progress during FNCS. So what are you mainly excited for when it comes to FNCS?
Mainly excited. I excited. Again, I just love casting. So like, I'll do it no matter what. Like if I get paid or not. Like
Yeah,
if I end up getting picked up by Epic or not. I think I'll always be casting. No matter what happens with that. I just love seeing people compete professionally in Fortnite because like I just love the core mechanic of building and being able to outplay your opponent.
yeah,
I think overall, like a team, I'm very excited to see. Obviously, is Mitro and company, which is I was gonna say that's how usually I go for casting. Like I can see Mitro, CR, Kenzo, Falcony very quickly because I know Europe and I know their squad. It's a new squad that I know. I usually go X8 and company, right? Like you, people will understand like okay, X8 and a squad or X8 and
yeah,
company.
yeah,
That makes it a lot easier. But I'm excited to see what Mitro, CR, Kenzo, and Falcony if they continue their hot streak, right?
yeah,
They won Fishy Cup. They've been doing very well, and I think they won both Fishy Cups if I'm correct. They've been doing very well in the War Legend Invitationals I've been casting. They did very well. I don't know how they did a warm up. I know they did. I think they did all right. I'm not sure.
I'm
I
trying to
didn't really
remember myself. Uh,
yeah, I didn't really follow warm up that much because I knew that people weren't going to play it as seriously.
yeah,
But I'm excited to see how they do. I think they'll be just on top yet again because from what watching their scrims and watching the way they play, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I think I'm very excited for that. As far as NA East goes, um, man, there's been a lot of changes in squad NA East. I'm excited to see who comes out on top, like who. Well, and we talked a lot about there's a lot of talk in the community about God squads, for example, like in the NBA, like there was what Chris Paul, LeBron, and I can't remember the other guy's name, Dwayne Wade, right? They were the big three, and we see right, like back in the day, like when they came together, like everyone was like, oh, okay, like wow, that's crazy. And like in Fortnite, we see that with squads, and then they've all started stinking each other. So I'm excited to see what comes out of NA. For NA East, NA West, I think Scented, Edgy, Rex, and I believe they're playing with Epic Whale. And if you have the chance to check out their comms, Scented is such a good IGL. It's so crazy, man. So I'm excited to see how they do. I mean, I'm excited to see just like how I know they're going to dominate, but we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited for squads. It was the first real scrim mode that was around. I didn't watch any of old squad scrims. I wasn't around like competitively
yeah,
back then. I was playing the game casually.
yeah.
So I'm excited to see how everything plays out. Like I think I've watched enough scrims to understand how it works and like enough things. But like I'm excited to see how people deal with changes. If we do get a grenade patch, what if people decide to take instead of grenades? I'm just excited for I don't know everything competitive Fortnite right now.
Well, same. I'd definitely agree with you on a lot of those fronts. As you are, you know, one of the most proactive casters we have in the scene right now. I think it'd be criminal if I didn't get a few predictions off of you. A lot of these are hot takes, of course, because obviously I'm sure you're not going to have much time to think about your answers. But I say for each of the three regions that most people pay attention to, NA West, NA East, and EU, who do you have winning FNCS for all three of those?
Oh, okay, Leven. Um, I think it would be very, 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 if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but it'd be very, very, very bad to bet against me, OCR, Kensel, and Falcony not winning FNCS. They've been so dominant,
Yeah, they're heavy
and
favorites by
it,
far.
I think for a reason, right? If they can go through the top 100 players every team, like because for the Fishy Cup, for the War Legend, right? Like they're only having the best of the best EU players in each of them.
Yeah,
So if they're able to win consistently, getting 25, 26 eliminations, right? Like I think it would be ill advised to bet against them.
yeah,
For NA East, that's a very, very hard one. A squad that recently formed was Clanks, Crims, Spades, and Blakeups. Now that was the old trio of Crims, Clanks, Spades, and they added Blakeups, who was playing with Painful PvP or Painful JStorm, Painful Tyler's Blake, and I think they were playing with Skeptic, but I don't know. I don't know specifically like why everyone's splitting. But I think that's a squad to watch out for there with Crims, Clicks, and Spades back together. They've always worked together well as a trio. We saw them do very well in trios.
yep.
They're adding Blakeups, who's very good. He did very well at TwitchCon as well. So we'll see. I think in NA West, it'd be ill advised to go against Edgy, Scented, Rex, and Epic Will, like I talked about. Like they're just so dominant. Edgy and Scented work so well together in Scented's IGL ship. And that's one thing that a lot of these squads don't have. And that like I would love to see. Like I would love to see Ninja versus 2K Funk and Nate Hill do so well.
Oh, I
Like I
see.
don't think they have like a set IGL. Right? Like you really need someone to say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing.
Mm.
This is what we're doing. Come with me. Do it now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would love to see Ninja's team do well, just because like
I just love
he's
Ninja. I'd love to see him do
right, like it's such a good story. Like the
yeah.
story you could craft out of that would be unprecedented. I want to see Poached on the East. I think he's dude, or he's like I don't know his squad right now, but he's one of the players that I think a lot of the community wants to see do well. I'm very excited to see how Chaps is like Vivid and Tom do 72 because I think Chap is stupid good at IGLing as well. So we'll see. There's a lot of people I want to see do well, but I
You
think
gotta pick one.
predictions
You gotta pick one, Clay. You gotta pick one.
for NA used to win it all. I think it's going to the Liquid Boys plus Slunky. I just
I like that.
yeah, I think I got to go with them. I think they're just crazy good. They're getting Frenzy Farm uncontested, right? If you get a loot POI that much uncontested, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Well, I think all three are solid, solid, and I think I might as well make mine because I have to at some point. I know people will ask me. I think for um, I'm gonna go with the safe pick for now. Maybe that will change as I see things, but I think the safest pick is obviously Mitro Kinzel, Falcon Lee, and CR. I think that's a safe pick for now. For NA West, of course, the other safe pick, I'm gonna go with them as well. Just because I don't know as much about NA West, so I'm gonna go Sentinel and that lot. But apparently, I remember someone telling me recently that even though they're NA West, they play NA East for FNCS, but I might be mistaken.
I haven't seen anything. I know they played warm up in West, and I think they have a pretty lock
Yeah,
first place there. So
yeah.
I don't think they. I think they want to play East, but I know Sinton lives in Canada, so I think that'd be kind of hard
Oh, okay.
to move for that. So
Yeah.
I would love to see him play on East. I would love to see it. I would love it for well, actually what I would love to see at the end of FNCS is take the top whatever squads from each region and have a mini World Cup for like the Winter Royale or whatever, right? The Winter Royale is the top four squads from every region, or like the top six or whatever. How many servers we have divided by 24 or 25? That's what I would love to see, right? I'd love to see CR, Kenzel, Mitro, and Falcony go up against Tintin, Edgy, Rex, and Epic Whale, right? I'd love to see that. So that's what I would love to see, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be kind of cool.
For NA East though, I'm sorry, man. I don't. I'm not gonna go with any of your picks. I'm going with
Ooh.
the TSM boys.
Oh.
The reigning champions, man. Come on, man. How are we gonna ignore the reigning champions? And I think they've only gotten stronger with adding Vinny, because I think Vinny's a great support player. Um, I don't. There's not much to say about them. I just think that they're an amazing squad. But if I'm not gonna go with them, I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with the World Cup champion, Booga, Stretched, Twyfo, and Curry. I think I love the IGL combo of Booga and Stretch. Like listening to their comms is, it just makes me so not swearing on the podcast is very hard. Like watching those guys rotate and make calls while they rotate is it's orgasmic. It's very entertaining to watch. So I'd be interested to watch NA East. I think NA East is really strong this season with the return of the Liquid Boys and so many OG players coming back and taking a shot at the crown. It's been a pleasure having you on here, Clay. Gonna have to wrap up here, looking about time. But is there anything you want to shout out? Tell the people what you're getting up to. Where can they find you and what are you doing the next couple of weeks?
Ooh, well, yeah, it was fun. We talked about it a lot. I could talk about this for hours on hours on hours. I could talk about anything for hours on hours. But I every Monday cast the War Legend Cup. Every Monday it happens. It's at War Legend Net. I am ClayStehling on all social medias. So if there's a social media, I'm probably on it. Probably at ClayStehling, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all of them. Same social media everywhere, just because you have to have that. Makes it easy for people to find you. But other than ready for FNCS to cast the finals, not officially. So, but on my channel, I think that'll be fun to cast squad full matches. So I'm ready. I'm excited. Hoping to get some other things in the works. There's some things happening behind the scenes. Can't talk about just yet, but hopefully.
Yeah, I'm
It's
very
been fun.
excited.
It's been fun.
It was a pleasure having you. Hopefully, we'll have you back here sometime soon, to talk about more Fortnite, because that's what we do best. So, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Be sure to follow Clay on all social medias. Be sure to follow me Our ads will be on the screen, so you can see that. And if you're watching on Spotify, you can find me on Leven2K. You can find Clay at ClayStehling. It's been a pleasure. See you guys next time. Bye.